Good evening, dear students. Welcome to another presentation of Enterprise Management. I'm Krishna Kumar, Senior Lecturer Achievers. First of all, I want to just quickly run through the areas which the examiner has tested in the May and September 2014 exams, because the likelihood of these topics being repeated is probably low, but I wouldn't definitely say that it will not come, but it could come, but the probability is less. So you can see that in the May and September exams, they have tested on rational model, the formal approach to planning, then international culture, post-completion review audit, resource-based and positioning views, shared services center, motivation, sources of power, that's a French and Raven model, Prince 2, discipline, market research, market growth, project management software, risk and uncertainty, then the authority, responsibility, accountability. These are the areas that quite a bit of, you see, wide area, large number of topics have been tested. Some of these could come again. So you can't just ignore these topics, you have to study everything 100%. So there is no compromise on that. But let's put it this way, that the likelihood is a little bit less, because they just tested last time rational model, so it doesn't make sense to test it again, but there are a whole lot of other topics to be tested. So therefore, in my session today, I have included some areas which are not here, not in this. But before I go to those areas, I would like to just spend a few minutes on exam techniques, because a lot of students don't pay much attention to these exam techniques, and that's one of the reasons why they just get below 50. And I would suggest, in my personal view, is that if you spend a little more time on exam techniques, you would really benefit from this. You can increase your marks as much as 10-15 by spending a little time on these exam techniques. Don't underestimate the importance of this. Now see, for example, especially for EM, with 7 essay questions, there's no MCQ, there's no short questions, all essay type. There are 7 questions, 5 10 marks and 2 25 marks question. Time management is critical. And when you do this analysis, 20 minutes approximately for each 10 marks, each 10 marks question. 20 minutes for each 10 marks question. And if you are going to spend about 35 minutes on a 10 marks question, definitely you are on the back foot. Because now if you are going to spend 35 minutes for one 10 mark question, when it comes to the 25 marks question, you are going to struggle. You are going to find it very difficult to complete the paper. So you need to be little, aware of this time management, which is very important. And 45 minutes for each 25 marks question. So you got to be very careful about this time management. My advice to you is, you should, just before the exam, do a 3-hour paper. Just sit, time it, and do a 3-hour paper and see how much can you complete in 3 hours. That will give you a rough idea, especially those who are doing EM for the first time. They will know, okay, in 3 hours, this is much I can do. This much I can do. So then you can, adjust yourself. If you know that you're a little slow, you can increase your speed or maybe do something different. But if you wait for the exam and do this, it's too late. So please pay attention to that time management, which is a critical thing. And of the use of 20 minutes reading time, got to use it wisely. My opinion, different people might say different things, but I would suggest that you just read the 10 marks question, because that's something that you can think of points quickly. 10 marks, okay, 5 points, 6 points. Just think about the points. Just keep a mental record of what points you are going to write. There's no point in reading the 25 marks, because 25 marks is a fairly, complex thing. So you keep that to the last 90 minutes. take the 10 marks question, see what you can write. The 20 minutes you can utilize for that. Maybe some 10 marks questions are so easy, you know what the points are. So when the writing time starts, you can write quickly. Of course, each point carries a mark. So if points are developed and applied in context, which you should definitely be doing, because the examiner is giving you a small, write-up. He is expecting you to apply your points to that write-up. Lack of application, I'm sorry, you are going to get your marks diluted, severely diluted. So I suggest very strongly that you must try to apply all points in context. Additional marks will be awarded for that. But writing the basic point, yes, you get 1 mark. But you further develop, apply in context, you are getting more marks. So on that basis, decide, you write certain number of points. Say for a 10-mark question, I wouldn't call this a standard, but of course for a 10-mark question, you can probably, if you are going to develop the points and if you are going to apply it in context, you can go write about 6 to 7 points. So you can be sure why 6 to 7 is, even if 1 point is wrong, still you would end up getting full 10 marks. So just write a few extra points, about 6 to 7, and develop it, and maybe apply in context. You get full marks then. Application to the situation outlined in the question is very important. So you can try out some, while you still have time, so you can take some questions, 25 marks question, and write out an answer and see how well you applied it in the context of the case, and just look at the written, the answer that you have, the lecturer has given you, or the suggested answer from Cima. You just take a look and do a comparison and see whether you have applied in the same manner that the examiner has applied. So you will be able to see where you stand as far as your application is concerned to the case, which is very important. Paragraphing. I have marked a lot of scripts of students, and one thing that I fail to see in most scripts is they never structure their answer. See, maybe they're excited or maybe they are tensed. These things don't, they tend to overlook when you're in a tense situation. So, as a result, sometimes they just keep writing, no structuring, no paragraphing. And that's going to, you're going to lose some critical marks. Say 2-3 marks can make a difference here. Think like that. 2-3 marks could make a difference. There are students who have come down with 49. So you have to paragraph it. Each point must be discussed in a different paragraph. Each point. Now, for example, if you are talking about sources of power, French and Raven model. Okay, we say expert power. Now that you put a heading. You have to give headings. You see the screen, I put the headings. Of course, all answers we can't give headings. But there are some answers where we definitely must give headings. For example, sources of power. Expert power. You explain what this is, and then try to fit that in to the passage. For example, now the usual thing they talk about expert power is, now a person has been selected to be the project manager, and this person has a lot of knowledge, experience, have worked 20 years in the company, and have been appointed as the project manager. So what you have to do is, you have to say expert power. He has expert power, he has a qualification, he's got the experience, he has worked in the company for so many years, he's very familiar with the systems. So obviously he has expert power. So you are applying to the passage. And then you must say how we could use that expert power to make the change, or how we could use that expert power to implement the project. Now that is very important. Now many students forget about that. They just talk about, they give a descriptive, they just describe what is expert power. That's it. That's not enough. You got to describe this expert power, relate it to what is given in the passage, and most importantly, you have to say how he could use this power to make the change or to do the project, or how will this power help him to do it. Now that is what is needed. So you need to be a little bit more analytical. You can't just keep writing just descriptive things. Need to be more analytical. More discussion is needed in your answer. Positives, negatives. Now for example, talking about the sources of power, one source of power is coercive power. So you explain what coercive power is. The power to intimidate, threaten, get things done. But then you must mention, based on what you see in the passage, this guy has been mentioned as a very fair, ethical person. So you must, in your answer, say, this person is a very ethical person. Would he use coercive power? No, he wouldn't use coercive power. Obviously, he has the coercive power. He is the head of the department. So he has the power to influence. But would he use this power? No, he wouldn't use. So you must have that ability to be very analytical and clinically analyze the situation. So that is very important for EM. It's not like EO. EM is at a higher level, so you need to display high level skills, analytical skills, evaluation skills. And I have suggested, I have given you a guideline, okay, every paragraph should be, a paragraph can't be two lines in length. It should at least have 5-6 lines. 5-6 lines, one paragraph. And a few more things I would like to say before I go into the questions. Don't go for perfection at the expense of time. Because you won't write everything that you know, all the points you know. Finally what happens is you overextend the answer and completely sacrifice a 25-mark question. Doesn't sound logical to me at all. So don't go for, trying to write perfect answers. There's nothing called perfect answers at the expense of time. Time is very critical. Please be aware of that. And then finally, of course, your temperament, you have to be calm, relaxed. Because believe me that if you get excited, even the points that you know it won't come out. You got to be relaxed so that it extends your potential. So these are the things I would like to tell you. I hope at least some of these things you need to practice before you go for the exam. Remember, it's not about knowledge, it's about how you fare at the exam. And unless you practice these things, it will be difficult for you to cross the line. Okay, let's move on to some specific areas which I would like to look at. One is the cost-time quality trade-off. Now you see, this is a classic thing in projects. I just given you a small highlight here. Just take a look at this small extract of a passage of a situation. J company is designing a website. Project is 5 weeks old. Already facing many problems, like difficulty in navigating the site. That's one problem. That's a quality problem. Rising costs. That's another issue. Project manager believes that correcting the navigation problem will delay the project by 3 weeks. So that means we need another 3 weeks to correct this navigation problem. And will cost an additional $100,000. So there will be a cost overrun, there will be a time overrun if you are going to correct this problem. But if this is not corrected, customers will be dissatisfied. J company will incur a penalty if the project is delayed. Now this is a very, very tricky situation. You have quality, cost, time, 3 critical areas in every project. And if you correct one, the other one gets affected. That's called the trade-off. For example, we may now see we have a delay here, a classic delay here, 3 weeks delay. We can put more people and get this delay rectified. But then if we put more people and get the delay problem solved, the cost might go up. because we are putting more resources, so cost might go up. So you see, when we try to solve one issue, the other issue gets affected. So we have to do a trade-off. Okay, let's take a break and let's come back. The question is this: analyze the strategies available to address the issues of time, cost, quality in the website project. Analyze. See, are given there, analyze. Strategies available to address time, cost, quality. So let's take a look at how we would address this question. Now take a look at the screen, please. First thing is, I need to make you understand that time, cost, quality are interdependent issues, because if we change one, the other will get affected. So they are all interdependent, and particularly the time and cost. Time and cost are positively correlated. Say, for example, if the time increases by 2 weeks, the cost would also proportionately increase. So they are positively correlated. So you have to write that at the beginning. Then what's this trade-off basically? The trade-off is basically something like this. If we address the quality issue, we need to put more people on the job. And when we put more people on the job, the cost would increase. So we might rectify the quality problem. We may solve the navigation issue. But at what expense? Increase in cost, increase in time. So there is a trade-off here. We need to balance it properly, because we can't solve the quality issue at the expense of time, at the expense of cost. Because you can see in the case, I'll just put it again on the case, you can see if we try to, if the project is not completed on time, there will be a severe penalty, and we can't bear the penalty. The penalty will wipe out our profit margin. So if you are going to solve the navigation problem, we need to address the issue of time overrun. We need to sort that out also. So we need to strike a balance. So that's the challenge here. So coming back to this, you can see here, one option available that you need to discuss in your answer is, can the navigation problem left as it is? I mean, can't we skip that problem and go to the next one and complete the project on time? Well, if we do that, we might be able to finish the project on time within the budget, but the quality issue will remain. So you need to discuss in your answer how serious this quality issue will be and what impact it will have on the reputation of the company. And if you ask me, this quality issue is very, very significant, because customers want to go online and they want to buy products online. And if there's a navigation issue, customers will not go online. You may lose your customers. You may lose your reputation. So therefore, this particular issue is a very critical quality issue. We can't just leave it as it is. We have to address that. So therefore, the first option is out. We can't just leave the navigation problem as it is. You need to discuss like this in the exam. You have to discuss this in a separate paragraph. The next thing is, can the team be asked to work smart? Okay, in the sense what I mean by smart is, in this particular case, they may need to overextend them, extend their productivity a little more, because now already they are running 3 weeks late. They have to catch up on 3 weeks delay. Because now we have been told here, if you see here, they say that if you are going to address this quality issue, the project will be delayed by 3 weeks now. So definitely I think we have to address this quality issue. There's no doubt about it. So how to bridge this 3 weeks delay it might cause. So one way of bridging that delay is we ask our team to work smart. Okay, increase the productivity. Okay, they are working at 90% level. Make it 100%. So if all of them maybe stretch themselves a little more, they might be able to bridge this 3 weeks gap. Maybe the 3 weeks gap can be made into a 1 week gap. So that is a possibility. So in that situation, we are solving the navigation problem, and hopefully we are bridging the 3 weeks gap. And since the staff are working very productively now, they are working at their full capacity now, there may not be a big cost overrun as well. And hopefully we could avoid that penalty. So this is a definite option that we can consider. Third one, can we focus only on high value adding activities? Now say for example, the project is already done up to a point, we have some remaining work available. So what we can do is, of the remaining work, let's focus more on the high value adding part of the work, like website functionalities, which is very important for the customer, and the less important ones we can just quickly go through. That way we could save some time, and hopefully, I don't know whether we could save 3 weeks, hopefully some time can be saved. So we correct the navigation problem, and we do, for the rest of it, we focus only on the value adding activities, so we will be hopefully able to catch up. Hopefully able to catch up on the lost time, but I can't be sure whether we can catch up 3 weeks, but we can catch up some time. And that way we can even manage our costs. So that's again another option, definite option. The next one is, can we ask the team to work overtime? Okay, now currently they are working till 7 p.m. How about 10 p.m.? Maybe we are asking too much from them, but well, the situation is very critical. You see, we have to give this project on time, otherwise we are incurring a massive penalty. So I'm sure the employees will understand the seriousness of the situation, and they may be willing to work a little extra. They may stretch their time till 10 p.m. Now they are working till 7 p.m. We may have to give something extra to them, but that extra input that they put in, that extra hours they put in, will help us to cover that 3 weeks deficit. And hopefully we will be able to correct the navigation problem and still complete the project within time, and to a certain extent within the cost also. Because we have been asking the employees every day to put extra time. Of course, if they work like this, it could have an impact on quality as well, because there's a limit to the time that any person could work. So they may be tired, exhausted, they could even make mistakes. But however, I would consider this to be another possibility, an option that we could consider. Can additional resources be employed? Well, we can always demand additional resources to correct this navigation issue. Can be done, but then there will be a cost overrun. So we need to work out the impact on cost. If we put these additional resources, what would be the extra cost? What percentage of the budget it would be? If it's going to be a significant component, I mean the overrun is going to be significant, I suppose it's going to eat into the profit margin. So therefore we need to look at that. Okay, what would be that additional cost? Everything depends on that. We can consider additional resources, but what would be the additional cost? And then of course another option would be to whether to reduce the scope of this project. Maybe, like for example, testing the website. Can we skip that? So that way we are saving a lot of time. For example, we might have allocated a couple of days for testing. By skipping that, we are saving time. But this is high risk. Because if we don't test the website and we launch it, and if there's something going wrong, it's going to affect the reputation of the company. It's going to affect marketing, sales. That I wouldn't recommend that, skipping testing of the website. Because quality is the key factor. Now here customers are going to interact with the website. Quality is a critical factor. We can't compromise on quality. Maybe we have a cost overrun, maybe our profit margin comes down, can't help. But we keep our reputation intact. But here, if we compromise on quality, our reputation is gone. So I don't think that option is possible. Skipping, no option. Finally, is timely completion of the website critical? Can the project manager negotiate an extension? Let me come to that after the break. Welcome back. I was telling you about this last line here on the screen. Is timely completion of the website critical? You know, in some cases, yes. But in most cases, I mean, it's not necessary that we should launch the website on a particular date as such. I mean, a 1 month delay is not going to make a big impact. So, in most situations, we could easily negotiate an extension of time. Now, say for example, let's see the passage to see whether there's any indication that the website should be delivered on time. There is no indication here. I mean, the website is supposed to be completed on a particular date and launched on a particular date, but if there's a 1 month delay, nobody knows the difference. It's not like, you know, you're building a stadium for a football match and you don't complete the stadium. It's critical because the whole world is watching you and games don't start on time. I mean, nothing like that here. It's a case of a company developing a website. A 1 month delay is not going to cause much of a problem. So I think a feasible solution here is to negotiate an extension. But at the same time, I would like to point out to you that they say that J company will incur a penalty if the project is delayed. That is the reason why I am suggesting that you need to negotiate this with the customer and ask for an extension without incurring that penalty. And I suppose an extension of 2-3 weeks is not going to make a big impact on the company. I believe that. So most probably the extension will be given, I believe. So I think that's a strategy you can try. You can try at the highest levels. So there are some options here that you can try to balance this cost, quality and time issue, such as, just to quickly go through with you, team should work smart, focus on high value adding activities for the remaining part of the project, working extended hours, maybe the possibility of additional resources, but we need to see what the cost is going to be like, and maybe to negotiate with the customer for an extension, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe even 1 week can make a big difference here. So these are all combinations that you can try out to balance these three: cost, quality, time. So this is how you are going to answer this question. So it needs a lot of, analysis, analytical. You have to be very practical in your approach. You can't be just talking theory here. So this is one question, look out for, trade-off between cost, time and quality. Couple of questions have come in the past papers, maybe 2 questions if I remember right. Moving on to a very, very popular topic in EM, project stakeholders, a question that comes on and off. And this is an extract. X company's board initiated a new project, enterprise resource planning system. This system will provide internal and external information across the entire organization, provide real-time connections to suppliers and customers. In fact, ERPS is the heart of the organization. And the question? Explain the role played by the main stakeholders in the sourcing and implementation of ERPS. Explain the role. So what you have to do is you have to briefly explain the role that each stakeholder is expected to play and try to justify that role. Try to justify, the role that they are playing. and why they should play that particular role. That's important, why they should play that particular role. You can see I have given you an indication. A good answer will start with an explanation of project stakeholders, brief explanation, and go on to show how they relate to this project. And these are the key stakeholders. Let's take the first one, the sponsor. The sponsor is definitely an important person, because the sponsor is the person who is providing the resources. In this particular case, the sponsor could be the board of directors, or it could be a particular director, IT director, because IT director may use his IT budget to finance this project. Out of his IT budget, he might be using it to finance his project. So in which case the IT director is the sponsor, or it could be the board. The sponsor is releasing the resources, so he feels it's very important. The project must be completed on time and according to the specifications, so he will keep a strict tab on that project. And also he will want to make sure that the project doesn't exceed the budget, because the sponsor's budget is also limited, so this project has to be completed within the budget. So the sponsor plays a very important role. He has to, at the beginning, maybe appoint the project manager, and maybe he has to work with the project manager at the early stages in picking the team. The right team has to be picked, because the team, they must possess the required skills to do this project. They must have the technical skills, social skills. So the sponsor may want to get involved along with the project manager in picking the team, because if the team is not right, everything will go wrong. So that's the role of the sponsor. He plays a very critical role, and he will want to be briefed at regular intervals with regard to the progress of this project. So the project manager will have to keep him briefed about the project progress. That's the sponsor's role. Then we have the project owner. The owner of the project is the person for whom we are doing the project. Now in this particular case, this is an ERPS. It could be the IT director who could own this project, because ERPS is a IT investment. So the IT director could very well end up as the owner. Alternatively, it could be the finance. The finance director could own this project. So once the project is completed, we hand this product over to the finance department. So we are doing this for that particular department. So it could be the IT or the finance, depends. And then functional managers. As far as functional managers are concerned, you can see that their contribution is very significant here, because if you see the question here, the question is about the system providing internal, external information across the entire organization. So that means these functional managers, they have certain information needs to take decisions. They need to be provided with the right information for them to take the correct decision. So they need to get involved in this project. They need to give an indication what information they want and when they want that information, so that we can design the system to provide that information. So functional managers' involvement is critical. If their involvement is not there, at the end of the day, when the project goes live, it will not provide the output that they want. So functional managers' involvement throughout the project is very critical, because their needs have to be satisfied. So that is the role of the functional managers. External contractor, because this project may be done by certain outsiders. It can be done in-house, but most probably it will be outsourced So we have a contractor who does this. So he needs to know about what's happening in the company. He needs to know about the systems. He needs to know about what output that the project manager will want. So parts of this project may be outsourced, not the entire project. Parts of this project may be outsourced. So the project manager will have to talk to the consultant and tell him clearly what he wants, and must also give an indication of the cost and the time available to do this. So the project manager will have to do a lot of negotiations with the contractor and ensure that the contractor delivers the product or whatever sub-product that he is making to the project manager. So external contractor's role is very critical. Let's take a break. Welcome back. Project team, a very important stakeholder because they are the ones who are doing the project. So the project manager will have to coordinate the project team. He will have to give instructions to the project team. Each team member will have a specific role to play, and they have to play their role to perfection. Even if one project team member fails to deliver the goods, the entire project can get affected. Because what you have to understand is that this is teamwork. There are a lot of interdependencies. If one person doesn't deliver the goods, the whole project will be affected. So therefore it's important for a team member to understand the role that he plays and how his role has an impact on the others who are in the team. More importantly, how his role affects the others in the team. He must understand that. Otherwise, he will mess up things. So project team members must possess the required skills. That's why careful selection is required. Each one specializes in a specific area and he has to discharge his responsibilities perfectly, to perfection. So team members work together, they exchange ideas, knowledge, and they work as a team. They have shared values. They all share the same values. They are working for the same goal, same objective. So they must support each other, and only then this project can be delivered on time, within the budget, and to the quality requirements of the customer. So that is the role that the team members have to play. They have their specific roles and responsibilities. The project manager is the key person here because he is the nucleus of the team actually. And if he fails to deliver, big issue. The project manager's presence is very important. He must be there to motivate the team, inspire the team, encourage them to achieve their goals, and he must be there to solve problems. Of course, the routine problems can be handled by the team, but when it comes to a very critical problem which the team cannot handle, they have to approach the project manager. The project manager must be a person who can lead the team and a person who should be able to solve the critical problems. Because we can see the effectiveness of the project manager only when there is a crisis in the project. When the project is moving smoothly, anybody can handle the project. But when the project is in crisis situations, that's where we could see how effective the project manager is. That's when we see how he could handle these critical problems. So we need a person of that caliber here. Because ERPS is a very complex project. So we need a person with technical knowledge, with management skills, with social skills. We need an all-rounder. We need an all-rounder as project manager. And the project managers, I would say one important thing that he has to look at is the leadership style. Because too autocratic means he may not be able to get the best out of his team. So he needs to consult the team, involve them in certain decisions. So he should use a mixture of autocratic, democratic styles of leadership so that he can get the best out of his team. So the project manager therefore is a key person in the team. The success of the project depends on him. So I hope you understood this. There are 6 stakeholders I have taken, and this is a 10-mark question. So if you can clearly expand on the roles of these people the way that I discussed with you, you should easily get that 10 marks. So this is project stakeholders. And please remember that there may be a question sometimes on stakeholders where we may have to refer to Mendelow's matrix. In this particular question, we don't need to refer to Mendelow's matrix at all. We just discuss the roles played by each of these people. What if each person doesn't perform the role? Now say for example, if the external contractor doesn't play his role properly, he may not be able to deliver his portion of the contract. The whole contract will get delayed. So every external contractor must make sure that they deliver their output on time according to the quality expectations of the customer. So everyone has a role to play. The project manager must keep the project sponsor informed of the progress of this project, because at the last minute he can't go and tell the sponsor the project is delayed. So he has to keep the sponsor informed of the progress on a regular basis. The sponsor will want to know. Then the functional manager's involvement is absolutely critical, because their needs have to be satisfied. That is very fundamental to the project. So everyone has a critical role to play here. And without the support of all these people, the project cannot be delivered on time. As I told you, there can be a question where you may have to refer to a Mendelow's matrix. So in which case you need to identify, you need to segregate them into these boxes: key players, keep satisfied, keep informed, minimal action. So you need to bring them into these 4 boxes and identify who these powerful stakeholders are. Who are the stakeholders who are powerful but not very interested in the project, but they could be interested later on? And who are the stakeholders who have a lot of interest in the project but they don't have the power to influence? You need to categorize your stakeholders into those different groups. Let's move on to another area. This is the project management process. This is a good question because it helps us to quickly run through the entire project management process. Now take a look at this question. A hospital is planning a new pay and reward system. That is a project. New pay and reward system, that's a project. And new project, the time period has already been agreed, 12 months. The purpose is to put all hospital staff on a uniform pay scale. That's the purpose. The government has initiated the project and they expect all hospitals to comply. Deadline is given there. The question is, produce an outline of the different stages in the project to design and implement a new pay and reward system for the hospital. That's one question. The other question is to describe the ways the above project differs from business as usual. Okay, the first question is to produce an outline of the different stages. Now when you talk about the different stages in the project management process, it's very important that you got to relate them to this little paragraph. This little paragraph. There's nothing much given here, but if you think a little bit, you can apply it to whatever information given here. So let's see. These are the 5 project management areas. As you can see, project initiation, somebody has to initiate the project, then the planning starts, then the plan has to be executed, and while the plan is being executed, parallelly we need to do controlling. And when we do controlling, sometimes we may have to go back to the plan and probably make a few changes to the plan, and then we again re-execute it. Goes on like that. And then once we have fully executed it, we close the project. So these are the 5 stages. Now we need to apply this little paragraph to these 5 stages. So let's start with the first stage, initiating stage. The initiating stage is, first stage is to identify the need for this project. This project needs to be justified. We can't just do a project for fun. We need to justify it. In this case, the justification is very simple. The government has asked us to do it. If the government has asked us, then there's no second word. We have to do it. So the justification is the government wants to do this because they want to put all hospitals on a uniform pay scale. So that's the justification for the project. The objectives of the project, yes, you can see it very clearly said that the purpose is to put all the hospital staff on a uniform pay scale. Now that's the objective, and that's what we need to achieve. The scope. Every project has a scope, and we need to identify the scope very clearly, because otherwise we'll end up doing unnecessary things. And by doing these unnecessary things, we are just going to prolong the project. This is what we call scope creep, meaning that we are doing unnecessary things and we are just overextending the project and incurring unnecessary cost, time overrun and so on. So we need to, at the beginning of the project, we need to agree on this. What is the scope of this project? The government must specifically tell us, this is what we should do, these are the boundaries, and this is what you should deliver. So once the scope is agreed, then it's very much easier for us to start work, and we know where to end, so we don't do unnecessary things. So that is project scope. We need to clearly define the scope. In my opinion, we should not even start without knowing the scope, because finally we may end up doing unwanted things. I will come to an end now, because we stop now, and I will be meeting you again in the second installment of this program.